next will be the NBA draft, and for me, obviously the conversation about Wembanyama and the Spurs and what have you is going to be of interest. But really, it's what happens third overall, who the Hornets are going to take, who does that leave on the board for the Blazers, and what does it mean for Damian Lillard's future? What do you think is going to happen with the Blazers here?
Well, I know in Dame, they have to. He's not at a point in his career where he's like, you know what, this is a rebuild. He's just past that. He's done that, right? Mm-hmm. When he's graduated to now, I'm trying to compete for championships. I want to do it the right way, but you got to get some serious help around me, some veteran guys. So if that's what I believe is a conversation, just me looking from a distance, I would say maybe that pick is traded. Maybe they bring in somebody who's ready right now, who they all believe can help take them to that next level. Because if I'm a superstar and I'm in my 30s, I'm not looking for a rebuild. Yeah, I've done that. I've mentored. I've helped Simons. I've helped all these young guys get from point A to point B. But now, my legacy's on the line, and I put in a lot of time to put myself in this team in position to win championships, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, it strikes me that if the Blazers use the pick, then the clock strikes midnight, and my phone, if I'm a general manager of a team in the NBA, say based in the Northeast Corridor, I am placing phone calls to the Portland Trailblazers on the spot to talk about whatever deals might be in the making immediately.
No doubt about it. You've shown in that Northeast Corridor that you can compete with the highest level, but there's still something missing. And I think what's missing is that presence of, maturity in the locker room, that presence of know-how, that there's a moment of truth in every single game where the game can go from one part to the other, right? And I think that's the first place I'm calling if that's what's available for that pick.
Where do you think he should go, Jamal, if you were counseling him?
If it was his pick and he was a free agent, like the perfect fit for him?
Yeah.
Could you imagine him in Miami?
I think he can. I think he just said on a podcast recently, I don't know if he was referring to he would prefer to live there just because of the lifestyle or the tax-free part of it. I don't know if that was what he was referring to, but him there, right? Him with Butler, two-man game, that sort of thing. I don't know, right? With Bam.
Absolutely, because Butler especially is one of those guys who is comfortable being robbed throughout games. Don't forget, he was a JUCO guy. Like, he does the dirty work stuff. He's comfortable with, take it over. I'll fill in when necessary, and if I need to take over, I will. So I think him in Miami or Boston, just eye test looking, if you just dropped him in those two places, I think he would fit best.
Is there a comparison for Jokic in your estimation, Jamal?
Yeah, if you put like a gumbo mix of 3 or 4 of the best players ever together, let's put some Magic, let's throw a little bit of Bird in there, throw some Dirk, and let's end it with Tim Duncan. And you mix that up, and you get the Joker. He's something different, Rich, because a guy that's not trying to score is averaging over 30 points. Like, scoring doesn't excite him. It really doesn't. If he can get 10 points and 15 rebounds and 20 assists, that's like his perfect game for him. He's playing for perfection basketball every single time out. And it's some people are willing passers. Some people get a joy to pass. It makes him truly happy to his soul to see his guys successful, and that's why he's so different than everybody else.
And that's why, putting him at the top of the three-point arc with the basketball in his hand. I mean, Michael Malone must just, get the knife and fork ready and stick the napkin into his button-down shirt, man. I mean, like there's so many options with him because of that, Jamal.
Yes, and he's playing chess. Like, he's really 2 or 3 steps ahead of everybody else. Think about this. The guys I said, with the exception of Magic, of those other 3, they're thinking score first, attack, then draw the help, draw the double team. I'll make the play out of that. He's working a totally different way, and that's why he's so unique. He's working in the way of, let me get these guys going. And then when I score, I'll fall into 30 points, even though I don't want to score. Brother, it doesn't make me happy. But I'll do that too, and I'll just pick you guys apart. And he's laughing. He's happy. They asked him last night how it felt to be the first player in history to have that kind of stat line in the finals. And he was like, whatever. Like, we won. That's all that matters to him. And what I'm hoping is that these 2 teams in particular are helping bring back team basketball, because it's more than what's in your bag, right? It's more than just individualized scoring. They play together, they play the right way, and I'm hoping that's being pushed out as well to see for kids coming up.
Jamal, I was saying that just yesterday. Jamal Crawford here on the Rich Eisen Show. I was just saying yesterday that this because the other piece of news that's out there from this week is Kyrie reportedly calling up LeBron saying, let's create a super team with Luka here in Dallas. And, forget about the reality of that being able to happen. But my thought was like, you know what? I'm watching some team basketball in these finals here. I'm watching, yes, there's a superstar in Jokic and a budding one in Murray, although his stat lines scream superstar, and obviously Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo is coming into his own. But all that, as you just pointed out, I'm wondering, do you think we've passed the super team era in the NBA, or we are passing it right now, Jamal?
I'm not sure, but I know, Rich, this is a copycat league, and I'm hoping those two things come out of it. Think about this whole season. We were all saying, who's the second best player for the Nuggets? Do they have one? Is Aaron Gordon the all-star? And the fact that we were kind of trying to figure that out, and these guys are right here, they've been dominant since day one pretty much. And then you have the Heat, who've been 2 of the last 4 finals, right? And they're just kind of not sneaking in the back door, but they're doing it so quietly with their culture and the way they do things. I'm hoping that that's the copycat part of this. You know what? We can figure it out what we have. We don't need to do all that. We can play good basketball as a team where nobody cares about who's getting the credit, but the team is getting the credit. Because I coach kids, and that's what I try to preach, right? It's not like I coach AAU, and that's one of the more individualized things ever, right? And I'm trying to bring that team aspect, and I'm making my kids watch this series in particular to show there's something bigger than just what you bring to the table. So I'm hoping that happens in the league, and the copycat part of it is, you know what? We don't need to all form together. Let's stay where we're at and figure it out.
Jamal Crawford here from the NBA on TNT, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So here we are again after a Nuggets win in the finals, basically thinking it's over and the Heat have no shot. But Game 2 did exist. It did happen. We did see it, and they did pull it off. So what now for Miami, in your estimation?
Well, coming into it, I thought Denver would win this game, and I thought Miami would win Game 4. And I believe that because they're not that great when they're out in front, and everybody says how great they are. They love being the underdog. That's kind of been their mantra. They've relied on that. They feel comfortable in that space when their backs are against the wall. So I think they'll come out and put on a heck of a performance in Game 4. But then I just think Denver ends up winning the series ultimately because Denver is a higher level of Miami. They do the same things, but Denver does it at a higher level. So I think.
What advice would you give John Moran if you had an avenue to give it to him? Unless you have. I don't know, but I'll just throw that out there for you.
Yeah, I think the word I always look at when things happen is accountability. And I think you have to look in the mirror. And I always say there's 2 people you can't lie to, yourself and God, right? So I think you have to have one of those meetings with yourself first and foremost. Because you can say the right things and you can do some of the right things, but if your heart's not all the way in it to do those right things, the same things that got you in this position will happen again, right? So I would start there. And then I would look at, some of the people in your circle, some of the people that you're around, and just get solid advice, get solid things. Like there's so many kids that look up to all of us athletes, right? And especially Ja right now because he's one of the kids' favorites. But there's a certain responsibility that comes with being in this position, and that's to be upheld at all times. Go back to the kid and mentally go back to the kid where you were just dreaming about being in this position, right? And now you're here. We have to do things the right way and take full advantage of it in the right way.
And I think we're going to find out something highly disturbing after the finals. I know I'm not going on a very thin limb here based on what Adam Silver had to say, Jamal. But I'm genuinely concerned. I mean, Stephen A. came on and said put those in the know or in the NBA are concerned he's going to be alive in 5 years. It's more than just a cautionary tale. Is what he said. Right. To me.
Yeah, and that part there is like. It's so layered, right? It's so deep because it's like, yeah, basketball is one thing, but let's look at the off the court stuff of getting yourself together. Because, like I said, he seems like a really, really good kid from what I know about him, or a young man. I don't want to call him a kid, a really good young man.
Yes.
And then his last 2 years happened, right? And he was the same person, Rich, when I was in the bubble, and I played. That was my last time, but he was the same guy. Remember, people were making complaints, all the food here, the beds. He was like, no, we have food to eat. The beds are fine. I have no complaints. I'm happy to be here. So that guy is there. We just have to bring him back to the forefront.
Is that what really? That there was some pushback about why are we here, and he was just being a leader about let's be fortunate about what we have in this crazy mixed up world. Is that what you were saying?
Absolutely.